My name is Matt Kaeberlein, and welcome to the Optispan YouTube channel. Hey everyone, welcome to the Optispan podcast. This is a very special reunion episode that we're having here today for the Caeberlein Lab at the American Aging Association meeting. So we got, I guess if you include me, 9 out of 10 former members of the Caeberlein Lab who are here at the AGE 2024 conference. I think that's probably more than anybody else at this meeting, which is kind of shocking, even the people from Wisconsin. So we should all feel proud or something about that. So I thought we really don't have a plan for this. This is just an opportunity to get to know some of the folks who've come through the lab. We're just going to pass the microphones around because we only have 4. And maybe you guys can each say when you were in the lab, where you're at now, what your current research interests are. And then I know several of you have or continue to have leadership roles within the American Aging Association. So it'd be nice to just talk about that as well. So everybody knows me. I was the president of the American Aging Association in 2015 and the chair of the board, I don't know, felt like, well, for several years after that, until last year when another person took over for me who shall introduce himself in a minute. All right, we'll pass this around.
I'm Scott Leiser. I was in the Caeberlein Lab from 2009 to 2015. But since 2016, I've been a professor at the University of Michigan. I'm now an associate professor in the Department of Physiology. I got into working with worms when I was in the Caeberlein Lab, and I continue to work with worms in addition to cells and mice. My overall focus is on stress response. I'm very interested in a family of proteins called FMOs, flavin-containing monooxygenases. I'm interested in cell non-autonomous regulation of aging. I recently got interested in how the microbiome regulates aging. In terms of the American Aging Association, I long ago won the student data blitz and then started somehow running the student data blitz, not necessarily on purpose. And I think 5 or 6 years ago got elected to the board and recently got elected as vice chair, serving in the similar to vice president position under George, where I don't really have a role or a job, but I do have a title, which is nice.
Right. And okay, I'm Alessandro Bitto. I've been in the Caeberlein Lab starting in 2013 up until its dissolution last year, a final dissolution.
I prefer to refer to it as an ascension.
Ascension, okay. Fair enough. And I'm still currently at University of Washington. I'm sort of like picked up all the scraps and working with mouse models of mitochondrial dysfunction. So I'm interested in mitochondrial dysfunction in aging and in metabolic disorders. I have also an interest in microbiome and aging and longevity interventions. And now they can be leveraged for chronic disease, and not just for age-related chronic disease, but chronic disease in general. Hello.
10 out of 10.
Hey, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
We made it.
We are currently.
Hi, I'm Judy. I started off as a undergraduate volunteer at the Caeberlein Lab and joined in once I graduated around 2016, and I stayed until the ascension of the Caeberlein Lab. I work now at the Institute of Systems Biology in Alice Kane's lab. We're interested in frailty and aging, and specifically sex differences in frailty. I myself am interested in sex differences, but more specifically women's health and reproductive aging. I actually am working on a project hoping to develop an epigenetic clock chronicling reproductive health and how it compares to chronological age. In terms of leadership roles, I'm just a simple RA in the Kane Lab, but I do have hopes to apply for graduate school this year, focusing on women's health. Yeah.
I was going to make sure that you plugged that you're on the market for a grad program, because if there's any people live, you should talk to Judy. I'm Ben Blue, CTO of Oro Biomedical. We were a startup that came out of Matt's lab, and we incorporated in 2022 and launched fully in South Seattle in 2023. We do high throughput drug discovery with a focus on aging interventions using our favorite worms. My whole career has been really figuring out new ways to make tools, software, and programs that let us move faster and better in terms of doing high throughput drug screening. I was in Matt's lab from 2017 through 2022, and I now work across the hall from him next to Optispan. One cool thing, both that I want to highlight, both my fiance and I are trailblazers over at Optispan, and it's been such an incredible experience. And both of us have found crazy things that we would not have found out otherwise that have led us to live healthier, better lives for hopefully longer.
Yeah, I'm Anthony Grillo. I was in the Kaeberlein lab as a postdoctorate fellow from 2018 until 2022. And I'm now an assistant professor at University of Cincinnati. I started summer 2022, so just finishing up my essentially 2-year reunion. And so my research really focuses on mitochondrial metabolism and mitochondrial diseases and age-related proteostatic failure, with a focus really on oxygen and iron misregulation that occurs from deficiencies in bioenergetics and bioenergetic failure through the electron transport chain. So we use a lot of the mouse models that we worked on in the Kaeberlein lab. It was really convenient for me that the lab was kind of changing so that I could take everything with me that I wanted to, all of the research and such. So that it was really fantastic time in the lab, and I really learned how to mentor and become a great scientist because of Matt's training.
We're not here to compliment Matt, though.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Do you want me to leave the room so you guys can say what you really think?
Oh, don't worry. George Sutphin. I was the original graduate student in the Caeberlein lab. I started as a tech for a year in 2007, and then I was a graduate student from 2008 to 2012. And then went to Jackson Laboratory for a postdoc. In the Caeberlein lab, I did mostly yeast and worms, and then learned mice at the Jackson Laboratory. And now I have a lab at the University of Arizona starting in 2018. I'm an assistant professor of molecular and cellular biology. And we use C. elegans, cell culture, mice, and we study largely the interaction between metabolism and stress and aging. We also do methods development in C. elegans. And I am currently the chair and CEO of the American Aging Association, which I took over from Matt when he, around the time that he ascended.
Michael Muir. I actually also, like Judy, started out in the lab as an undergrad volunteer, working with worms, and started out with the Aura biomedical incarnation of the WormBot. I started 2018, then was hired on full-time 2019 and served until 2023 when the ascension occurred. Now I'm over with Ben Blue at Aura Biomedical. I'm the director of invertebrate research, so also part of drug discovery and drug screening with the fun little C. elegans worm. I'm also a member of the advisory board at Bellevue College, the molecular bioscience program that I graduated from.
Hello, I'm Brian Wasco. I am now an assistant professor. Assistant professor of biochemistry at Western University of Health Sciences in Oregon. I was a postdoc in Matt Kaeberlein's lab from 2011 to 2018, so I probably had one of the longest stints. Also got to run the yeast replicative dissection team and be lab manager for a little while. My research involves primarily Saccharomyces cerevisiae, baker's yeast, just kind of globally interested in just how do cells work and how do cells age. So a big focus is on just kind of how cells can maintain homeostasis, with some of that focus being on how that goes awry during the aging process. We're also using yeast to kind of leverage them as a tool for drug discovery as another avenue of research. Involvement in the American Aging Association. I served as the senior trainee advocate for, I believe, a 2-year stint that ended last year.
Hi, my name is CJ. I'm currently a senior research associate at the Altius Institute for Biomedical Sciences. I worked in Matt's lab starting in 2021 with Tony. And I worked there as a student volunteer And then I also worked with Michael in the yeast dissection as well. I was taking care of yeast, mice, C. elegans as well. And then I got hired on after I graduated, and I worked there for a year and a half. And now I'm going to be trying to apply for grad school this year. And so my name is CJ. Please remember me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing that, guys. It's super fun for me to see how successful you've all been, and I expect to see much more. And also how, at various stages of your career progression, I think with 2 exceptions, everybody's still in academia. Well, not including me, Michael and Ben. So this is great, and I look forward to many more years of seeing each other, hopefully at the American Aging Association conference and elsewhere. Okay, I didn't really have any plans. I think, I don't know, Ben, if you had anything you wanted to do. I think I have a list of interventions that I've been asking people about.
Yeah.
And so I think it's appropriate that we just all do thumbs up, thumbs down, okay, or And I mean, we can get all lost in like, does it work in people? Does it work in mice? We don't need any of that. Just, are you for, against, or don't know, don't care? Okay. All right. So let's see. I'm not going to do this in order. Well, actually, who knows anything about methylene blue?
I know a little bit about
All right. Let's do thumbs up, thumbs down. Where are you guys at with methylene blue? Okay. You can't look at other people. You just got to go. Good. We got 1 thumbs down, 2 thumbs down, and the rest are sort of lukewarm. All right. So Alessandra knows something about methylene blue. Let's hear what you know.
Okay. I think that there've been some studies with mice with some results, but they were not super convincing. So I know very little about it, just heard it before. So yeah, I'm kind of like the jury's still out maybe on that one. Kind of like feeling.
Yeah, so I actually did a little bit of research on this recently because somebody asked about it, and there's a fair amount of literature, well, a few papers, but they all come from this Russian Institute of Gerontology, and as far as I can tell, nobody else has worked on it outside of that, so it's kind of like, it's hard to know, is my view. I
have a master's student who got interested in it, so we just tested it in worms, and it seems to extend lifespan.
Hey,
Our first
all right,
couple
there you go.
experiments.
Unpublished, hot off the presses result, extends lifespan in worms. So does that push it up? Okay. All right. What about Dasatinib plus quercetin? Okay, we got 2 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down, and the rest are okay. Why so negative?
Well, I think you gotta be careful with that because like it can get pretty toxic pretty quickly. Like the dosage range can be very tricky to find.
Okay, and who wants to go to bat for DNQ? I saw 2 thumbs up there.
Both of us, it's, and more or
Get
less.
off your phone, Ben.
Yeah.
So what I'm checking right now is if
Yeah,
we've
if
got methylene blue as one of the million molecule challenge compounds you can sponsor, whether or not we could just go and see, you could sponsor it right now and get the results.
You got a winner.
Quite honestly, I think I have recently run that combination.
Okay. We're talking about DNQ here, not methylene blue.
No, yeah, the combo. Yeah, definitely. I believe possibly I recently screened this, and from memory, I think there was actually positive results.
I believe there was, so we see it work.
The Dasatinib and quercetin?
Yeah, we did.
In worms?
Yeah.
Not long ago, I just screened that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Lots of scoops.
Let's see. What's a good one here? How about... Oh, here's one George might have an opinion on. Caffeine.
Yeah.
I hope.
All right. I don't see any thumbs down. Okay. So we're going to... That's pretty positive for this group. All right. Protein restriction. We have a thumbs up. All right, Judy, you got to defend yourself. Why are you pro protein restriction? We only have 1 thumbs up and a bunch of thumbs downs.
I'm basing this off of one talk that I went to who actually showed that protein restriction can, I think it was improve lifespan in mice at least. That was one talk though. I think they showed that diets where they overfed mice with protein was actually deleterious. So I'm basing that information off of
you're
that.
right. That is more or less what the mouse data and rat data suggest. So you're right, but some of us like protein. And I do think it's fair to say that we don't know if that's going to be true in people, but there's reason to believe that low protein can cause problems in
And there are
in
certain
people.
proteins or specific amino acids where restricting it can extend lifespan.
That's right. Yep. Yep. Well, let's do that one then. How about branched chain amino acid restriction? At the Madison meeting with Dudley. I don't know if I want to be too. I'm going to go, I mean, it works in mice. I'll give it that. So we have a thumbs up from Tony. Why the thumbs up?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's still a lot of things to learn about, branched chain amino acid restriction, especially differences in the different branched chain amino acids. Part of it is, I'm submitting an R1 in 2 days. Focuses on branched chain amino acid accumulation and how restriction helps it and interfacing with mTOR. And I do think there's a lot to learn about how leucine interfaces and integrates with mTOR and the effect it has in a lot of different processes. So in terms of the research that's in the field, definitely there's a lot of studies that aren't well controlled and have issues of kind of calorie matching and things like that. But I do think there's a lot to learn in that and its role in the age-related process, even though it might be very broad because of the kind of enigmatic nature of branched chain amino acids.
And I mean, it does work, right? In mice. So I think it's, it is nice to study things that actually work. So.
That's fair, right?
The translational potential is tricky, though. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you're going to start eating ostrich? What is it that
I don't
was
think
saying?
I would do
Ostrich is
anyways.
great.
But
It's delicious.
Is it? I haven't tried
it's so
ostrich.
good.
Yeah? Okay.
I mean, you can do also kind of in the same class as like methionine restriction, right?
Yeah.
Whether the mechanisms are the same or not, but I know people who have done clinical trials of methionine restriction really hard, and the people on methionine restriction are hungry all the time,
I bet.
and they can eat a bunch, but they don't gain weight. It's actually super interesting. So it might be kind of a miserable existence, even if it worked.
Also a met cis, or
You got to talk into the microphone, or nobody's going to hear what you
was
said.
that also a methionine and cysteine?
Was it methionine and
Decrease.
cysteine? Yes, you actually have to do both in order to get the effects. Yep. Good point. All right. So here's a few that I don't know. We'll see what people think. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Hey, come on. Oh wow, we got a couple of thumbs ups. Okay, I'm surprised. What do you know? What do you know that I don't know?
So I don't have any longevity studies on it, but we are starting hyperbaric chamber studies at our institution in mice. I have suggested that maybe we just swing for the fences and do longevity.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that's just my thumbs up.
I have yet to see a hyperbaric oxygen therapy longevity experiment in mice yet.
That was
There are
my
lots of
thoughts,
people who have jumped on the bandwagon.
Right.
Tony, do you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, sure. I think, we think about it, we've evolved for a billion years in different oxygen concentrations and pressures. And so I think it's fascinating to think its effect on aging, and it's been so much ignored for a long time. But I do think, there's such differences in when it's applied, right? If it's for preconditioning or late in life. So I think one issue that made me almost want to put my hand, I guess, horizontally is, it's difficult to know how broad that therapeutic window is or how narrow it is, even if it does have an effect. So I think you'll see some good papers out there, but it might be like some previous literature in other areas that it's very case dependent.
Right. And I mean, I think as you know, right. And as you know, we've done a lot with hypoxia in the lab. And in that context, you can also extend lifespan. So, high oxygen, low oxygen, can they both be good? Yeah, probably context matters. But you could also imagine both of them being bad in certain contexts. So, yeah.
And there was quite a bit done with hyperoxia that wasn't ever published too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't remember any of it being good. It was either bad or nothing.
Yeah.
Right. We never had it extend lifespan, but yeah. Okay. What about sauna? Right. That's a big thing. Who's into saunas as a longevity?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Haven't thought about it.
Nobody's convinced.
Question mark.
I mean, you like saunas, right? Yeah, that's
It's mostly like internet influencers. I don't think there's a ton of.
Yeah. I haven't seen any mouse studies with saunas.
So I mean, I think that the thought here is it's like heat shock, right? So hormesis, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so related to sauna, but the opposite. What about cold plunges? Anybody's into cold plunges here?
Sure. Yeah.
I gotta admit, I'm cold plunge curious. Like I haven't done it, but I kind of want to try it and see. So, had anybody do it? Who's got your thumbs up? Or you're just like, sounds cool?
I mean, when I was in high school, we used to have competitions to see we lived on a lake, and so in Michigan, who could stay in the water the longest. So it was me and my teenage brothers. And like you said, I do think, low amounts of stress are actually really beneficial. So if that's induced by the cold plunges, that's fantastic, right? So I guess I also have not seen cold plunge mouse research or human research on it.
That might be tough to get through.
It might, right?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Well, yeah, no, I've heard of I believe like possibly like burning of brown fat cells.
Yeah.
So that was my
Yeah, I mean, I think there are real metabolic effects, and I've heard also anti-inflammatory effects is I think what most people will point to, but who knows?
It's kind of
Nobody can hear you if you're not talking into the microphone.
I mean, I think the advantage of it is it's probably the most accessible hormesis triggering intervention you could do, other than maybe dietary restriction, which is a
Or
passive
exercise.
I know, but I'm saying that like in terms of in terms of activation energy for someone doing it.
Yeah.
You just sit.
Yeah, it's true.
People are lazy. They just like sitting.
But you need an ice bath.
Yeah, but you just do cold water.
You can do the
You gotta get the ice.
bucket
You can do
challenge.
you can do a cold shower, I
But
suppose.
the one thing that is overlooked here is that there's some data coming out. There's some research coming out that the cold exposure does weird things to your appetite, and actually can bring it up. So you may end up actually eating more.
Yeah.
And so.
I mean, these things are hard, right? Because people will think they feel better, and unless you do it in the context of a real clinical trial, it's hard to know.
I would say both of these, sauna and cold, have the hormetic potential, but we are nowhere near knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
Spoil sport. All right. What about parabiosis?
Sure, in theory.
Oh, we got a thumbs down over here. Why are you so negative about parabiosis?
Okay, am I
Gotta
understanding?
talk into the
Sorry,
microphone.
if I'm understanding parabiosis, it's when you connect the circulatory systems of two creatures together.
Yeah, you got it.
That sounds like a horrific experience for both of them. Not even
So
like that doesn't seem like how would that ever work either?
I
fair
actually
point.
With few people. Yeah.
I actually just read a paper where they've done that with mice.
Yeah.
It's like old mice and younger mice. And it's actually really beneficial for the older mice to be connected.
But not so great for the young mice.
Oh yeah, not great for them. Yeah. But it was great for the older mice.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as a translational approach, it might be challenging.
How does that translate to blood boils?
I mean,
at
look,
Silicon Valley?
it's based on the parabiosis. So the idea, I think let's say this, the concept of parabiosis, right? There's good stuff in young blood and bad stuff in old blood. And if we can figure out what those things are, we could use it therapeutically. It makes a lot of sense. And there's plenty of data to support it. How you go about doing that, this is the thing. Yes, there are human beings who have actually taken blood from their children and put it into themselves.
We're not talking about anybody in particular.
You may have seen this on TV or on YouTube somewhere. Yes.
I think related to that, I don't know if it's on your list, but mitochondrial replacement therapies, right, is interesting area of avenue, purifying mitochondria and then injecting them essentially.
Well, you're the
intravenously.
mitochondrial expert here. Actually,
Sure.
the two of you. So do you guys have thoughts on this? Like, I haven't followed that literature super closely. My impression is it's very intriguing, but it's unclear if the technology is there to really know if what's claimed has actually been done.
It's very new.
It is really new,
so-
yeah, absolutely. I
but
mean, you
it's
look
very
at
intriguing.
you look at purification, right? And there's actually some phase 1 clinical trials that are going on in it for diseases. So in normal aging, that's a completely different ballgame. But yeah, looking at some pediatric Lee syndrome cases, they're putting it into, these human patients with it.
So Lee syndrome, childhood mitochondrial disease, often caused by mutations in the mitochondria. That's a very specific use case where you could imagine transplanting normal mitochondria in would be quite beneficial.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, it might be case, to those in normal aging, who knows. But we could argue that there's a lot of similarities. in some of those mitochondrial deficit models and normal aging.
All right, we're getting to the. Oh, yeah.
I just have a question about that. So you say, I know you said that this is like a very new field. So you inject the mitochondria just directly into people. What is the method of like cellular uptake? How are you introducing the mitochondria into cells?
Sure, yeah. I mean, mitochondria originally,
Tony.
right? Mitochondria originally were engulfed by cells,
No,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of it. I mean, it could be phagocytosis or endocytosis. They're small enough. You know, I mean,
I don't think anybody knows. That's
yeah, but
Yeah,
that
I
is
was
one
just
thing.
wondering
But you
somehow they
see,
go in.
you see in normal cells mitochondrial crossover, right? So that does happen in the brain a lot, where you can watch these mitochondria be transported from like microglia to other cells. So there are cellular mechanisms that allow for it.
I imagine it's got to be really inefficient, though. Do we?
Yeah,
have,
sure. Probably, but you also don't need a lot of mitochondrial function to overcome that barrier, right? So it's like, where's the cutoff for good function? Even if you have lower, it's still enough.
All right. We're getting to the big name interventions here. All right. What about NAD? Michael.
I'm sorry. I can't help it.
All right. Tell me why you got the thumbs up there. We had everybody was kind of lukewarm.
No. Again,
uncertain.
it's just being at Aura Biomedical, I have the benefit of screening through lots and lots of drugs, and again, this is one that I think we have recently seen an actual increase in lifespan.
NAD.
NAD.
I'll double check.
I'm skeptical.
I'll
of
double
that.
check the database.
Not
I think you think everything you screen increases lifespan.
No.
That might be a problem.
Such a small amount. No.
We've tested all of them, and none of them extend lifespan.
You're talking about the NAD precursors.
Well, precursors, and we've done NAD too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ben's going to check
gonna
the
check.
database right now, and we'll get back to you because we wouldn't want to mislead anybody now, would we, Michael? All right. Come back to NAD. Alpha ketoglutarate.
Sure.
I would have been a thumbs up till the ITP paper just came out. All right, we got a couple of thumbs ups here.
Oh, I missed the ITP paper. I'm sorry. I didn't read it, but like.
Alpha ketoglutarate did not extend lifespan in the most recent ITP study.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm going back here then.
All right.
I trust the ITP to do a good job.
Well, I mean, I think we should be fair, right? A negative result doesn't prove that it can't work in any context. All right, Tony, I think you were the lone thumbs up here.
Yeah, so alpha ketoglutarate is one thing. I think the ITP was dimethyl ketoglutarate, right? It was a precursor that's hydrolyzed alpha ketoglutarate. So I do think we have to be careful in the terminology we use. But yeah, I think it's fascinating to think about some of these TCA precursors to kind of insert into the TCA cycle and kind of affect the bioenergetics of that system and kind of alter metabolism. So yeah, I think, when you look at the ITP, or like you said, Matt, their testing regimens are pretty limited. And so it's unclear, I guess, how that might translate. But I think there's a lot of great research in that area, and it could have potential in aging.
Yeah, and I guess I should say, I think the calcium alpha ketoglutarate is the supplement that has been most often used, right? That was actually first used as a calcium supplement. And, to the extent that calcium supplementation can help with loss of bone density, that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do and a pretty good supplement. So calcium alpha ketoglutarate has two ways that it might help you. So again, maybe that's like somewhere in between. I don't know. All right, we have a decision.
We were doing NMN or NAD plus?
It doesn't matter. We're just talking about NAD in general.
So
Microphone.
If I had a nickel. We recently published on the Million Molecule Challenge 50 micromolar NAD plus having a 0% lifespan extension.
There it is.
But it's one we'd love to do more and see if there's one that will work. So
Okay.
But was the 0% statistically significant?
let's not even go there. All right.
P value is 0.998.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I am surprised about the MKG from the ATP, though. I mean, it seemed very promising. So
If you go look at the original paper that Gordon and Brian published, the lifespan results with alpha ketoglutarate weren't that compelling. I think the frailty and some of the health span metrics were more compelling there. So I'm not shocked that the ITP didn't get a positive effect. But
I was also mostly based on the fact that it seemed to be working very well in the mitochondrial disease model, which has been a pretty good
No, you're right.
prediction. So
And again, a negative result in ITP is not disprove the possibility that the intervention could increase
negative
lifespan at a
results don't
certain
disprove
dose.
that, just like, we couldn't find it. But
It also could be mitochondrial specific.
it could be absolutely. It could be a mitochondrial specific thing.
Okay. Metformin. We've got a pretty mixed bag. We have Tony, thumbs down. We have Michael and Ben. You two, always thumbs up. I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
It's very
Say it.
strain
Say it.
specific, though. This is something that, we find when we're looking at strains that have to do with Alzheimer's disease
So you're talking about in worms.
in worms specifically.
So it extends. Yes, it's robust in worms. Do you want to give more insight?
No, I think that what Michael's getting at is really true, is that in terms of a longevity intervention, it might have a really strong effect on age-associated diseases, but we may not see the overall extension of lifespan. And I think that's kind of the nuance where some of this, it's why it's important to look at a bunch of different disease models. So
Yeah, and metformin actually might be kind of the poster child for that sort of a drug where it seems to affect multiple age-related diseases, especially those tied to metabolic dysfunction, but the lifespan effect is unclear or very, very small, other than in C. elegans. I think it works pretty well in C. elegans. So you had a...
I had thumbs down, yeah.
Yeah, why are you thumbs down? Oh, because it's a mitochondrial toxin?
No, so I might be a little critical with some of these, but I have a organic chemistry background, right? So like I look at the structure of molecules and their specificity and mechanisms. And so there's probably another drug on the list. You look at its structure, it's absolutely beautiful, right? It's complex. It has a lot of stereochemistry that could be a great target. Metformin is so simple that I think it's maybe affecting a ton of different things. But in my opinion, those global changes in so many different areas make it really hard to figure out, what's beneficial and what's not, right? Every single one is not going to be beneficial, every effect that it might have. And so I don't like, I guess, what I call dirty drugs, right? Which are drugs that just hit a ton of different things. You might argue, another pathway hits a lot of different things too that we'll discuss. But that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of against it largely. But like you said, age-related diseases, diabetes, I mean, that on its own is affecting lifespan of people.
Yeah.
So you could argue just if you consider its, FDA-approved use, it is transformational.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this wasn't even on the list, but that made me think of a new set of drugs, GLP-1 agonists. Okay, we got a thumbs up, and everybody else is sort of like lukewarm.
we do have the data running with some of them right now in worms.
Oh, interesting.
We
Cool.
no results back yet. Still ongoing.
Yeah. George, you want to take this one? You were the thumbs up.
Yeah, I think we're still early on and we don't have a good sense of what the long-term effects are, but a lot of the data I've seen from certainly for body composition in our society is a plus, and it seems to have beneficial effects on a bunch of other things. So I'm kind of tentatively positive on that one for long-term effects.
So what's your prediction? Mouse lifespan experiment. Would it extend lifespan in mice?
I think I would. My prediction would be probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too, as long as it induced caloric restriction.
Right.
In that experiment. Yeah. So, and actually, I think this is something I've been thinking about a lot is, it'd be interesting. So you guys are testing, which ones are you testing, or one are you testing right now in worms?
I'd have to look it up.
Okay. I mean, it occurred to me thinking about these GLP-1 agonists that looking at bioactive peptides in worms is a big sort of thing Aura could do at scale real quickly.
Yeah, I don't know if were you at the talk about an hour ago where there's some new bacterial peptide deliveries that can just feed them to worms. And so I've messaged that person to talk about the science
So
there.
you express the peptide in the bacteria, the worms eat it, and then it has
Exactly.
bioactive effects in the worms. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So opportunities there. Okay, that wasn't on the list, but I think those are really interesting. Okay, resveratrol. Okay, we have a lukewarm. Come on, Ben. Show your thumbs. We got a couple of lukewarms. You can do it. Go for it.
I'm going to do it.
Ben's going thumbs up.
But it's going to be
your explanation.
It's going to be the same explanations because I've gotten it to work in worms.
It works great in worms.
It works great in worms. I will say that means, very little when we talk about, does it have the capacity to work in people? So we'll see. I'm not super optimistic about that. But as we got into it with Metformin, I think that one of the things to look at is, we use longevity as a screening tool for aging and health. But the reality of the way the FDA works is we all have to take these molecules out of disease. I haven't seen a disease yet that resveratrol works on, but I want to be a little bit devil's advocate that it could be out there. But it is a very dirty molecule.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Rapamycin. Oh, you guys don't have to go thumbs up, really. It's okay. Scott's lukewarm. All right, explain.
Not sure.
I think that it works in mice. I think that it works in every animal tested in an SPF environment. I would like to see the dog data or something in an overall environment, sort of non-controlled environment first. I think it is very plausible, very likely, but there's a potential that in the outside sort of human world, it might fail.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a valid criticism. Are you more concerned about rapamycin than you are about caloric restriction or protein restriction or those kinds of interventions in the real world?
Probably not. Not really.
Okay. All right. So that's good. We have one rapamycin skeptic at the table. So that's we need one of those in every crowd. All right. I've got others, but those are the most interesting ones.
Oh, come on.
Wait, hang on.
You got one?
Yeah.
Go for it. Anyone else want to throw one out there? Go for it.
I mean, we gotta talk about Acarbose. That's 2 thumbs up.
Acarbose. Yeah. We got a lukewarm. We got a couple of lukewarm. I mean, I'm sort of lukewarm just because it causes diarrhea.
Well,
but
I'll just say
Yeah.
one thing about it. As a native Italian, it transforms your pasta into a salad. That's all you need to know.
You want to expand?
Please. I just had side effects as kind of the concern, so it's
Yeah.
similar.
3-hydroxyanthranilic acid. Come on, Matt. None of that. Come on. So.
Yeah.
There you go. Come on, guys.
No, most people are like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Right. Yeah. So we had a whole podcast on it.
The mouse data looks pretty good. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We need human data, but we'll get there.
It's still early, but
Anyone else have any burning? All right. Go ahead, Ben. No?
It was going to be kind of a joke. Orb 1284. It's a novel mTOR inhibitor that works about 2 to 3 times as good as rapamycin in our worms. So if you'd be interested in getting that into mice, please contact us.
All right. This was not meant to be a plug for Aura Biomedical, but you got it in anyways. All right. So let's finish up. We can go around the table. What's the weirdest thing you've done for longevity? And if you've never done anything for longevity for your health, and if you've never done anything for your health, just the weirdest thing you've ever done in general.
Weirdest thing for long, probably intermittent fasting for a long time. Not the fasting part, but the intermittent fasting part. I did 16/8, probably. I don't know. I still do it sometimes, but 8 years.
I call that time restricted eating. Intermittent fasting is more than a 24-hour fast. Just for clarity.
Perfectly reasonable.
For a little while, I devised my own fasting mimicking diet, which was basically trying to have like as little carbs and proteins as possible. I could go crazy on the fats, but no carbs, no proteins. I lost a bunch of weight doing it. Like it was 5 days a month, and that was it. I lost a bunch of weight doing it, but yeah, it was hard. On the 5th day, you feel terrible, and then the first bowl of rice you have that evening is amazing.
So you did this like the way Walter recommends the fasting mimicking diet, like 5 days a month,
5 days a month.
that.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, that's pretty weird.
I did a caloric restriction. It actually was not. My doctor actually really recommended against it. I guess especially specifically for me, I have low blood pressure, so that didn't work out. Yeah,
but
I'm not
you're alive, so
I'm alive, so I'm not doing anything else after that.
I've done both intermittent fasting, really hardcore fasting, and then working with Optispan was prescribed the whole 30. So we did that for about a month and a half, which was awesome. Felt really healthy, lost a bunch of weight, have regressed being here in Madison with a lot of cheese. But one cool thing that came out of that is I got my blood work back, and I had, as the MD at Optispan put, criminally low vitamin D. So I was borderline unreadable. So I am now taking a lot of vitamin D supplements.
Weight loss is considered a general factor in being something good, especially when adults who typically age, you see a lot of like sarcopenia and weight loss.
Yeah.
So I just find that interesting that we're seeing weight loss as a general positive thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's because so many people are overweight that at the
Right.
population level in general, it
Yeah.
seems to be. But you're absolutely right. I mean, even in overweight people, once they get into their late 60s, 70s, 80s, weight loss can actually be a sign of negative health, particularly if it's lean mass that they're losing. So that is a good point. And
And I think they actually, like, people who are overweight have different frailty signatures compared to those who are not.
Yep. And I mean, going back to these GLP-1 agonists, one of the things that we see in the literature so far is when people will lose weight, but some proportion, up to about half, can be lean mass. And then if they come off those drugs, they regain the weight, but they've had this negative change in body composition. So that can be detrimental in the long run as well. So that's a good point.
To touch on the vitamin D deficiency, I don't know if the Optispan data are confirming this, but apparently everybody in the Pacific Northwest is deficient.
About 80,
Oh, yeah.
75 to 80%. Depends a little bit on where you put the criteria for deficiency. There's a couple of different recommendations out there, but yeah, in our data set, it's at least 3/4 are deficient for either vitamin D or B12, and almost everybody is below optimal for omega-3.
Interestingly, it's also true in Arizona, despite the sun, because everyone wears sunscreen and blocks the UV so, all the time. Yeah.
So I'll go with an unintended one. Sounds like most of the people here is intentional, but there's, I guess, some research that looks at capsaicin and kind of its role as an antioxidant in general health. And I love spicy food.
Didn't capsaicin extend lifespan in worms?
I'm assuming it did, but in
I'm
worms,
not asking about wasn't it published to extend lifespan?
it was, but in worms, like any antioxidant will. Right. So I don't know how true that is, but I love spicy food, and I used to do the Big Red challenge. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but you take Big Red gum, you eat a little bit, you lick the wrapper, you put it on your forehead, and you have competition with someone who can keep it on your head the longest, and it just burns and burns and burns from the capsaicin. So I guess for me, I'm talking about another case of competition with my brothers.
I think Tony wins the weird.
Yeah. So I'm going that route. But even just eating spicy food, I guess, isn't as weird.
I guess with the theme, various forms of time-restricted feeding and intermittent fasting, up to 7 days for several times. So done quite a bit of that. That's probably the weirdest.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything that I've done personally, but definitely screened some worms with a bunch of LSD derivatives and mushroom extracts. That was pretty weird.
But you this was all like legal. You had the appropriate paperwork for all of that, right?
I'm not saying anything.
Well, did they extend lifespan? I think
And did they
we
behave
can't
weird?
say that was part of a collaboration.
Oh, all right.
I didn't really do it for longevity. I did some fasting. Just Walter Longo came to the UW at some point and did a talk, and a bunch of people in your lab were like, it was very compelling data. A bunch of people in your lab started doing it, and I was just impressed.
Didn't one person faint and put a hole in the wall with his head?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Unanticipated
That's right.
side effects.
Yeah. So I just did it because I was compelled that everybody else could do it. I wanted to see, just as a personal challenge, could I do it? And I was kind of surprised that like it actually wasn't as hard as I thought it would be to do. I thought it was gonna be just like a lot more ravenously hungry, but that kind of went away. So that was kind of interesting. And then I also practice what I describe as inadvertent fasting. It's my method of fasting, where I'll just sometimes skip breakfast because I'm busy getting the kids ready, and skip lunch because I'm busy at work. And hopefully it's good for my longevity.
Yeah, this is actually interesting because I know a lot of people who, like you, say, I forget to eat. And I'm thinking, like, I have never forgotten to eat in my life. So there's clearly a self-selection.
It's part of why I put my thumbs up for caffeine, because I'll get a little bit hungry and I'll just be busy and I'll want to be more productive. Yeah. So I'll take a cup of coffee. But that works really well at suppressing my appetite. It makes me wonder
if fasting has longevity benefits, would it be different in people who do it without effort or accidentally versus people who really have to be hungry? I think there's some reason to believe that the hunger itself is driving some of the benefits, maybe through hormonal effects or metabolic effects. So I hate to say it, but my speculation is you're getting absolutely nothing from that.
Probably, yeah.
But there's the argument to that. Would that be, will the GLP-1 inhibitors work?
Yeah.
Because that's basically tricking you into not being hungry. Right. And so if they didn't work, that would be suggestive of what you're saying. But if they do work, then maybe just being absent-mindedly fasting is good enough.
Yeah, you're right. We'll see.
I've done a mixture of inadvertent fasting and purposeful fasting, in addition to a lot of strenuous exercise, because I'm like, be healthy. And I found that it made me extremely miserable and lethargic all the time. And college was hard, so that wasn't the best thing to do. But it wasn't necessarily for longevity. It was just more for I would like to keep my body as good as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's good reminder that you can take these things too far, and if you feel terrible, it probably is to the point where it's not actually beneficial for your health in the long run. So you guys all know me, Rapamycin. That's probably the weirdest thing I've done. I honestly don't do much weird stuff, but I do take Rapamycin sometimes. Awesome. All right. Anything else anybody wants to get off your chest while you're here? You can yell at me and.
It was nice to see you all.
Yeah, it was. This has been fun.
Well, I'll state that the calling you're leaving your lab as an ascension is I'm a little bit against that, because my work is toward not ascending in the sort of grand sense of the word. So I think maybe a better word you need to come up with.
Yeah. I'm sticking with it. Awesome. All right. So this has been fun. Thanks, everyone. And it's been great to see everyone at the AGE meeting. And hopefully we can do it again in a year.
Yeah.